Thank you so very much. I received that love. I know I wrote it, but to hear it, thank you. All right, so as he mentioned, my name is Dr. Chris Omni, and we have been sitting for a really, really long time. And if you have ever heard me present, you know I don't like standing behind the podium, and actually I'm doing something that I should never, ever do. I'm speaking with my shoes on. I don't do that. I must always be grounded when I present. So, we're going to start with me taking my shoes off, and I invite you to get grounded and remove your shoes if that's what you choose to do. The second part of my presentation is to talk to you about the framing. We're going to discuss past, present, and future for a digital humanities project that was developed while working on my dissertation here at Florida State, and so much has grown in the space of just 2 years in partnership with FSU Libraries. So the other part is the fun part, right? That since you've been sitting, I think it's time for us to do a little bit of movement. How many of you remember the childhood game Red Light, Green Light? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Will you indulge me for a moment? It is part of the presentation. Will you indulge me for a game of Red Light, Green Light? Okay, if so, please stand up. And if you've never played Red Light, Green Light, but you would like to, this is the way it works. When I look at you and I say red light, you must stop. When I turn away from you and I say green light, you may go, and you're trying to work your way towards me, okay? To make this fair, I want everybody to go right back there by that black cart, and you're gonna work your way around the wall and try to get to me. So do not cut through the tables. You did not sign a waiver, so I'm not responsible if you trip over the chairs. By you volunteering to get up, this is your agreement, right? So you're gonna try to work your way around this way coming to me. So what is your name, love? David. So single file line with David to make it all fair. So everybody get in a single file line with David. Yes, so you're facing this direction. Yep, you're fine. But single file line with David as much as possible. If there are chairs in the way, you get to bear witness to this if you don't want to get up. Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you for pushing chairs in. That sounds good. I would love that. Indeed. Because you are actually a part of my presentation right now, just so you know. So remember, do not run into the chairs, but as I'm looking at you, a red light means stop. A green light means go. Are you ready? Okay, thank you. That's one person. All right, so remember, you're working your way to the wall, down the wall, and getting to me. Red light. Green light. 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 Red light. Yellow light. I just had to see what would happen. Green light. Hey, love. She's like, I'm getting there. So I was supposed to say red light, but you were right there. So green light. And then you got me. Green light. Keep on. Green lights. Green light. Keep, and you may go to your seat. Green lights. Green lights. Red light. Oh, ooh, you were reaching. Green light. Red light. Oh, 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 oh. Green light. You got me, you got me, you got me. Red light. Ah! Green light. Okay, home free. Clap it up for yourselves. In that particular game of red light, green light, how did you feel? This is an interactive presentation. How did you feel? Good. Thank you. See, if you've ever heard me speak, you know I don't speak with notes. So I'm just waiting on that answer to resonate in my spirit. Fun. I want to make sure that research is received as fun, that you can play a game and then think about how that applies to your life. So what we just did was gave a chance for everybody to win. It wasn't just a matter of red light, green light, first person wins. Then that means 1 out of 20 of you get to win the prize. When it comes to being a Black Joy scholar, artist, and activist, it is about reframing the conversation of what it means to be a scholar, because Black women, Black people, a lot of my research deals with Black women, we are scholars of self, sisterhood, service. And unfortunately, in the society that we live in, a lot of the research reports the deficit narrative of what's wrong with Black people. So in this space, I bring my background in public health, and part of that is having fun through physical activity, into the foreground of art education, because now this is about storytelling. I use narrative inquiry as one of my primary research forms. Now, the other thing that just happened is, you didn't see it, but I had a chance to see it. I saw smiles. Oh, see, now I could stop right there. Y'all are still smiling. I saw smiles all the way around the room as you were playing this game. So to tie this back into this deficit narrative, I frame it with the statistics, which I don't like, but I'm gonna give it to you to give you a better understanding of what we're doing in the present. But for Black women, we are 42% more likely to die from cancer, 60% more likely to be diabetic, 30% more likely to die from stroke. 80% of us are overweight. 53% of us are obese. So when you were talking about cardiovascular, I'm like, this is like a perfect bridge to the conversation of health. But with my public health research, I looked at physical activity and the different barriers to physical activity to get us moving. You just played a game, but that was physical activity. It transported some of you, and maybe I'm dating myself because I'm almost out of my 40s. I can't believe that. I'll be 49 in a couple months. I invited you to go back into my past, but some of you smiled because now I think it was part of your past of red light, green light. Kids played. Kids were physically active. Kids weren't just here on their screens. So we've lost the art of play. When it comes to research, we've lost the art of play. And when you look at the definition of research, you just break the words down. What does search mean? Anybody? What does search mean? Search, right. So the word is research. I'm going to break the two words down. What is search? To look. Yes. So if it's re-search, then it's to look again. And then again and again. And it doesn't matter what direction you are looking backwards or forwards. But what we do with this research is that we take it back to the basics of storytelling. Storytelling is a place where our ancestors were able to pass down knowledge And storytelling became a way to disseminate research because we looked again about the experiences that we had as Black people in communities to share that with the next generation. As you leave here, whether you share this with somebody else or not, you just had a temporary download of fun to remember and look back at the times when life was simple. The times when you didn't have to worry about writing. How many of you are working on a grant right now? Anybody? Okay. We didn't have to worry about writing grants as kids. So there's a lot of fun, to keep on coming back to your word, there's a lot of fun that is missing from research. Not anymore at the Omni Institute of Black Joy Research. Found it right here at Florida State University. And in 2021, when working on my dissertation, which is called Black Joy in Green Spaces, a nature-inspired and darkened visual narrative inquiry, I also had the opportunity to be a pen and ink fellow for FSU Libraries. Thank you. I'll take that. I received that. In addition to that, same semester, I was a research mentor for Europe. Anybody familiar with Europe? If you're not familiar with Europe, you need to look into this organization because it stands for Undergraduate Research Opportunity Program. I think that's what the P is. So I worked with 4 young Black women. I believe they were like maybe 18 and 19, so somewhere around sophomore range, sophomore, junior. And we worked together to develop the digital humanities project called Blacktivate Joy. I did not know where this was going to lead us, but it has not just stayed in Tallahassee, Florida, but now it has also traveled to San Juan, Puerto Rico, to share the research that we did as a team as part of the library. This is citizen science. This is open access. And a lot of times, and let me go back to the past, because I said I'm going to do past, present, and future. With my Master's of Public Health, and I didn't know about the term open scholar or open science, citizen science. I wasn't familiar with that language while working on my master's. This is relatively new for me. But what I did know was I did not want to publish my research. I did not want to put it in an academic journal that would not be accessible to the majority of the people that I was trying to reach. So what I decided to do was put it on the stage, and this was in 2020, to create a stage production called Chocolate Sunshine. And this is not today's topic, but it's kind of that grounding information of the past. That by putting it on the stage, I'm air quoting because COVID hit in 2020 and we didn't have a stage. It had to be virtual. But that gave us the ability to give the research away in a way that blended science and art. Some things you just cannot plan. I didn't know that, what was it, Blaine Butler, was that her name? I did not know that she was going to say that the word scientist or open science can kind of cause a divide between those of us in hard sciences, or not those of us, but those of y'all in hard sciences, and the scientists in arts and humanities. There's a major divide there. But by bringing in this arts-based element with the conversation of public health, when I try to put this on the stage, we were able to reach 3,000 people through Facebook. Use social media for your work. That's, and somebody else said it in their presentation, that it's on the, I just spaced it right now, but social media was one of the ways to share your research, and that's how we were able to do that. I'm going to eventually get to this slide, but I want to now go into present. because I gave you a little bit of the past, talked about the public health background, talked about the idea of fun, talked about the idea of bringing students on board for this publication that we're working on for digital humanities. Where we are right now is to expand the research and go into green spaces to learn more about nature's influence on the emotional, social, physical, and spiritual well-being of Black people. And one of the best ways to do that is to bring in these young minds, because I love grounding. That's why I had to get into this conversation, and thank you for grounding over there with me. But what they are bringing to the table is something that my almost 50-year-old mind never would have necessarily thought of. And that is, how can we use social media to expand the message? How can we build this infrastructure that we started last year and expand that? So if you are, later on you'll see it at the end of the slide, but the website is blackdebatejoy.create.fsu.edu. And in this space, the students are able to communicate their work through that website. It's not just me saying, all right, this is my dissertation, I'm going to plant it here. But what they discover from their literature reviews, what they discover from their story exchanges with other people, this is all going to be placed on this digital humanities site. From there, this is now into the future. We want to work with FSU, and I'm putting the word into the universe of the ancestors can move forward in this space. We want to build a journal that is not just a scholarly journal, but also a creative artistic journal, because when you think about journals right now, is it all scholar? Is it all creative? There's no, at least for me, I've not discovered a blending of the two. Has anybody else found that in their work with journals? Yes?
I mean, the most you might get is like they have a competition to see who can get the cover picture. You might have some creativity to it, but that's basically it.
Okay, all right. And then you, thank you. And you had your hand up. Has anybody seen that?
Here, I'm not actually focusing on that part. I'm diverted into IT and art, which I'll connect with you once you're done.
Okay, all right, sounds good. But that is like the future of where we're going, of trying to create this academic and creative journal that extends this research to the public. That way they don't have to go to a space that is isolated, like a traditional academic journal. They can see their work through fiction. They can see their work through dance that we record through video presentations. They can hear through podcast, all in this academic journal. So that is the future of where we're going with that work. We have a conversation scheduled next week with the library to see if we can make that happen. So I'm going to put my geeky hat on for a little bit and go into the 5MT competition. I am proud to announce that I won second place at this competition. That was last week. Thank you. Thank you. Received. And it was nice to place, because when you sit back, and this is me not liking to be back there, when you present this type of work in like really hard science spaces, and then to also win, it helps to validate the work that you're doing. And when students see that this work is positioned up against hard sciences, they're like, if she can do it, I can do it too. So what I'm going to share with you is the second place victory, and it is interactive, so get ready. All right. This is so hard just to stand still and, okay. So we will, this is why I have students in this space, because I don't do the whole technology PowerPoint thing. That's what I do. So if I try to click it, we're going to attempt this. Still on? Nope. Or was it this? Now it's on? Okay. Wish me luck, because trying to do this at the competition did not go so well. So we're going to start off with a question. How many of you like to do puzzles? Okay. Now let me run that back. Let me pretend red light, green light. Red light, green light. How many of you like to do puzzles? Okay. Let's try that again. Red light, green light. How many of you like to do puzzles? Whew, that took a while. Thank you. And generally, what is the first step when you create a puzzle? Visualize. Okay, you visualize, because you know I was really about to do red light, green light again. What is the first step when you do a puzzle? Thank you. Are there any pieces in particular that you look for? You said it. Thank you. Corner? See, this is why you are a part of this conversation. Yes, you find the four corners. So the four corners to frame this morning's conversation include who, what, where, and why. Who? Black people. What? Black joy. Where? Green spaces, also referred to as nature. And why? To explore nature's influence on the physical, emotional, social, and spiritual well-being of Black people. But secondly, and more importantly, I want to really pause it right here, to provide a counter-narrative to the typical deficit lens that is generally applied to research regarding the Black experience. That's why I laid the foundation of those negative, or I call them sad stats, 42%, 80%, 60%, 30%. We need a counter-narrative. And we need to be able to share this counter-narrative in a very big and open way. That's why this Open Science Conference is so important to the work that we are doing and are really about to explode into. Now, I'm giving the answer away right here, but after you find the four corners, and I can give it away because I heard you say it, you said find all the edges. Now, some people are like, well, what is Black Joy scholarship? What does that look like? What type of theory? What type of methodology? Pretty soon, I'm going to talk to you about the theory. I'm not doing too bad with this little clicker thing. I like this. The methodology and the method, the research design, and a little bit, that's supposed to say findings. I don't know what that is, but finding S. We're going to find S at the end of this session. So I want to also pause on this slide that the Kujima theory of collective self-motivation informs the work that we do, and it also informs what has been happening in this discussion. Kujima comes from 3 Kwanzaa principles, and those principles are rooted in womanism as well as enhanced by these principles here of Kujichagulia, which means self-determination. All of you had an option this morning. You could have decided to go to your class, go to your job, stay home. It's Friday, it's beautiful. You could have had an early vacation, but you were determined to be here to learn more and to share your knowledge. So that is Kujichagulia. Kumba is creativity. How many times do you get to play red light, green light as an adult? Hardly, exactly. And that's what I want to really bring to this space of whatever you are working on, get creative in that space. And if you need some help, I'm here for you. We can sound off of one another to talk about some ideas to bring in Kumba with your work, which ties into Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We have to work together. That's why open science is so important, because we share it with the masses to remove the barrier to access. My work was about looking at the barriers to physical activity. The Endarkened Visual Narrative Inquiry, I made up this part because I added visual, but narrative inquiry is a research form using stories. Now, Drs. McClish Boyd and Dr. B created Endarkened Narrative Inquiry just in 2020. Now, this is all about storytelling, but the word endarkened is what really adds significance to our work. Endarkened was a term that was coined by Dr. Cynthia Dillard as a way to provide cultural construction and reclamation from the word enlighten. What does enlighten mean? Anybody?
Enlightening, personally, what I feel is when you are in peace and you can visualize it, you can actually feel yourself and feel the energy.
Through enlightenment, you're at peace. It comes through yourself, and people won't be able to see this on the screen, but this right here was a visual conversation of being able to share from within going out. But the word that they use in there is light. So why does that have to connote the way that we spread and share forth this wisdom? So through the word endarken, through cultural construction, we can research the Black and brown experience through a positive Black lens to provide illumination. So that's where that term endarken came from. Then I put all of it together because as an arts-based researcher, I love visuals. I love photos, I love videos, and this is what you see on the website. I don't know what is going on with, we are walking G today. We were going to finding S, now we're going to walk in G. So these are the methods that I use. Did you just do this method? You did, and you did it with fun. Photography, I couldn't make this up if I tried. Is she doing this method? Could not make this up if I tried. Are they doing this method? I didn't plan this. I didn't plan any of this. But through photo elicitation interviewing, we can go back and look at your photos and generate questions from just the photos. You took pictures of her doing this. Are those your pronouns? I'm sorry. She, her? What are your pronouns?
What am I sorry? What I'm doing?
Pronouns? She, okay. So when you took her photo and the video of us all the way walking around for red light, green light, someone is going to ask, what was that all about? I thought you were going to a conference. So then that becomes a way to interview people just by looking at your video. When we go back and replay this, we can then ask ourselves and figure out what can we do to expand this conversation, or what can we change next time. So this is where photo elicitation interview comes from. I'm not going to stay too long on design and findings because that's not the purpose of today's conference. But just quickly, it was an intergenerational study. We had 4 participants. I was included in that. The ages ranges between 24 and 58. They were invited to take as many photos in nature of things that brought them joy. That process is actually called Kama Mutu. I didn't make it up. It's just in the research, in the literature. And then they could only give me 5 photos to talk about. One person took as few as 24, one person took as many as 98, but for the interview, they can only look at 5 photos. Here were my research questions. For the sake of time, because I do want to give you room for questions. This is where I will focus and get ready to close out this piece. That how does Black joy show up for Black women who routinely commune with Mother Earth? Radical authenticity. I stand firmly in that space simply because this is me most days. If I can walk in the grass barefoot, I will do that. If I could be at home on the back porch or in the front gardening, I will do this. And what I found out is that a lot of other Black women, not just for grounding, but they get to show up as their authentic selves. In the work that we do for Omni Institute of Black Joy Research, we show up with research questions that are important to our authentic selves. And we have a collective self-ideology. I gave you red light, green light, but everybody had a chance to win. We just experienced what collective self looks like. Expanded compassion. I couldn't make this up if I tried. You saw me when we came in, and then we had a conversation, and before we ended our conversation, you said, I just want to get a hug. So I will gladly offer free hugs. I'm a professional hugger. I will offer free hugs at the end of this conversation. And then what we do is a restorative practice. All of this shows up in the work that we do. All of this shows up in the research that we gather and we share. And all of this is given away for free, easily and accessible through the website that was created through Pen and Ink for their Digital Humanities Project. Now, this section is complete, but we are all students of something, right? So it's not up here. I'll leave that right there, but I'm gonna give you a pop quiz. Pop quiz. You ready for this? Stretch it out. If I were to ask who, what would you say? What was the answer? Black people. If I were to say what, you would say Black joy. If I were to say where, you would say green spaces, also referred to as nature. Yes, yes. And not to put you on the spot, so I'll give you the answer for why. And the most important answer, I do this work, we do this work to provide a counter narrative to the typical deficit lens that is generally applied to research regarding the Black experience. We do that proudly. We bring in womanism through Kujima, and we share this through the website blackdebatejoy.create.fsu.edu, a digital humanities project that started in 2022 and is really expanding in 23, 24, that if the universe agrees, we will also have a journal coming out in 24, 25 that blends the scholarship and the art in one space. My name is Dr. Chris Omni. Thank you for your time. Opening up for questions. Thank you. Any questions?
And other thing to connect with you guys is even though being information, art cannot be taken away from anyone. Creativity cannot be taken away from anyone. Doesn't matter which field we are. Last year or early this year, there was I presented Leaps and Bounds Unraveling the Greatest Mysteries of the Universe. And my topic was Seed and Universe Through an Eyes of an Artist, a Visual Impact. So I think today seems like almost end of the session, but I think one more speaker after that. But this is conclusion for me. If I'm in position to conclude, this is it. I think this symposium brought everything together for me as a student and as a learner, because I will never stop learning and I will never leave where I'm going towards. Doesn't matter technology, where it takes us. But if we are forgetting our feet on ground and the seed and taking weed off the ground, we will go nowhere. Thank you. I appreciate everyone who put together the effort to create this symposium. A special thank you to you. I'm going to connect with you.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
And it's a brown hug.
Yes, yes, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yes, love.
So I don't want to, I guess, explain your project to you or how the open science aspect comes in, but it kind of sounds like it evolved naturally along with the project because it matched with what you wanted to do already. This kind of bottom-up perspective is a nice contrast to what I normally see. I work at the Mag Lab, do a lot of biochemistry, physics, that kind of research over there. And it often feels like the whole open science thing is almost imposed top-down in a very kind of unnatural and uncomfortable way for a lot of people. But to see a project like this where it's kind of organic and naturally evolving alongside is refreshing.
Thank you. Spot on that this has been so organic, but the way I like to use it, the language is divinely orchestrated. That the ancestors have already planted this seed, and it was time for me to sprout and walk in this space. So thank you for recognizing that in the work. Questions, comments? Yes, love.
So thanks so much for your presentation. I thought it was, I'm sure we all really enjoyed it and learned a lot. I wondered if you could speak a little bit more about the next phase of like the evolution of your project. You mentioned wanting to start a journal that would sort of blend between like the scholarly and the creative fields and sensibilities and that kind of thing. I wonder, if you could speak to like why you want to move in that direction after having created, like a really stellar digital humanities project.
Thank you so very much. I love dreaming type questions. So in your question, I hear, how does this dream evolve from this organic space? And why do we want to have this academic/creative journal? Because getting a PhD from FSU, it puts you in a different category altogether, right? And people are looking to see, and this just happened in Puerto Rico. People said, well, where can I read your research? Where is it published? One of the presenters talked about the amount of time that it takes to go through the review process, to put the work out there, then have 3 reviewers, then go back and get your edits. And the one, and I'm trying to think of, I think it was through qualitative research through SAGE, that they had a call for proposals, and the deadline is December 31st. They specifically talked about counter-narratives, and Black Joy was one of them. I'm like, what journal is really asking for my work after I just graduated? Then I looked closely. Baby, it was $6,000 to submit. And you're talking about organic and natural. All of this has been happening like within the last 3 to 4 months. So when I saw that it was $6,000 to submit to this journal, I'm like, who does that and why? Is this really a thing? And I did not know that you had to pay to have your work published. Who has $6,000 just to give away to a certain population of people who are probably already privileged enough to receive the work? And I'm going to take it back to church today. Not today, Satan. I actually reached out to FSU libraries and filled out a form to get funding. And then somebody responded and said, well, Not unless you're already approved, we can't really consider your application. But when you are approved, come back and let us know, because this sounds like a worthy project to support. I've been sitting with that. Do I really want FSU to spend $6,000 on my behalf? There's the answer right there. There's the answer. Do I really want to spend $6,000? So the answer is no. And just because you can does not mean you should. So this is why it is essential to have this type of journal that provides open access, specifically around subject matters regarding Black experiences, so that when you submit, you don't have to pay. That your work goes out to the masses. And on Ujima, collective work and responsibility, we fully acknowledge that this work is not going to be possible just through Black people, that it will take people that acknowledge the importance of spreading a counter narrative to make this happen. We can't do that at $6,000 for a submission. So by creating this journal, we are creating a platform. This website anybody can go to, but you're not submitting your work to our website. A journal allows you to submit your work through our journal that then gets disseminated. And the peer review process, that's all of us. That's everybody reading the stories and receiving the art of what we produce to communicate Black joy. So it's a natural evolution. Thank you for even bringing that up. It's a natural and organic evolution of this website, because then the community of Black people around the world can share what they already know and what they are researching around the subject of Black joy. Thank you.